When you stop living for them, you take back your life. You've spent years dancing to invisible music, the rhythm of approval, the beat of expectations. You shape your days, your laughter, your silences, all to fit inside the box they built for you. But one morning, something cracks. Maybe it's the way your chest tightens before saying yes, when every bone in you wants to say no. Maybe it's the hollow in your belly when you laugh at jokes that carve into your soul. Suddenly, you see it, the mask slipping. Carl Jung called this moment a break in the persona, the false face we wear to survive. And behind it waits the shadow, the unloved parts of you, aching for light. You don't need to burn your bridges or rage against the world. You just need to stop living for them. In that quiet rebellion, the world trembles. Because when you stop bending to their script, you start writing your own. And in that silence, in that pause between who you were and who you are becoming, you finally hear it. Your own voice. The moment you stop living for them, something unfamiliar creeps in. Fear. Not theirs. Yours. You fear losing your place, your people, the fragile ties that held you close. It's strange, isn't it? How the prison you've built begins to feel like home. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the hidden part of us we fear to face. And here it stands, trembling inside you, whispering, if you stop pleasing, will they still love you? You hesitate before declining that invitation. Dread hangs heavy when you don't return that call. You wonder if you're cruel, selfish, cold. But here's the truth. The voice calling you selfish is often the voice that benefited most from your self-abandonment. You're not breaking bonds. You're breaking chains. It's messy at first. Guilt clings to your skin like a second layer. But Jung taught us individuation, becoming your true self, only begins when you walk through discomfort. And on the other side, freedom. The first steps are wobbly, but they are yours. You're not losing them. You're finding you. There's a storm inside when you say your first no. It's not just the sound of refusal. It's the crash of old patterns collapsing. Suddenly, you notice how much your life was built on yes. Yes to favors. Yes to demands. Yes to roles you never chose. Carl Jung reminded us, the persona, this mask we wear, exists to keep us loved, accepted, safe. But every mask is a weight. And one by one, those weights have bent your spine. So when you stop living for them, when you dare to lay down the mask, something extraordinary happens. You hear the sound of your own breath. You taste the quiet. And you meet the person beneath the mask. Raw, unfiltered, unfinished. At first it feels lonely. You'll miss the chaos. You'll miss the distraction of tending to others. But sit with the loneliness. Carl Jung would say, this is the gateway. Only when you lose the false connections can you build true ones with yourself. Each no you speak, each boundary you set, is a brick laid in the home of your authentic self. And slowly, you stop living on their stage and step into your own life. When you stop living for them, the world doesn't applaud. It resists. They'll call you distant, selfish, changed. They'll tug at the old strings, trying to make you dance again. And you'll feel the pull, the ache of old belonging. But Carl Jung warned us, the process of individuation is not a celebration. It's a rupture. It's the slow, painful peeling away of what was never yours to carry. You'll sit in rooms that feel emptier. You'll listen to silences that once terrified you. And here's the paradox. The more you return to yourself, the more you'll grieve. Not because you're losing them, but because you're shedding the false you that kept you safe. You'll remember the child who learned to smile, to keep the peace. The teenager who said yes to avoid rejection. The adult who bent so others wouldn't break. And you'll mourn them, softly, because they tried so hard. But now, you're ready to try something else. Truth. And the price of truth is discomfort. The reward? Wholeness. And here's where the turning point comes. When you stop living for them, you stop explaining yourself. No more over-apologizing. No more shrinking to fit. You start walking away from conversations that drain you, from obligations that suffocate. But this shift, this awakening, comes with a challenge. You must relearn how to be with yourself. Carl Jung called this sacred solitude, the space where you listen, not to the noise of the world, but to the quiet voice within. It's here you start asking, what do I want? What feeds me? Who am I when no one's watching? These questions are not selfish. They are the doorway to sovereignty. And I want to invite you here, in this moment, to take a breath. Pause. Ask yourself, am I ready to choose me? If this story touches something inside you, whisper it to yourself or write it below. I choose my peace. Because from this point forward, everything you rebuild will rest on that foundation. Peace, not performance. There's a quiet rebellion in the small choices. When you stop living for them, you begin to notice where your energy leaks. The half-hearted yes, the forced smile, the text you answer out of guilt. Carl Jung spoke of psychic energy, a precious force that shapes your life. Every time you bend yourself to fit their story, you drain that energy. And what's left for you? You start reclaiming it in whispers. You pause before replying. You let the phone ring. You say, let me think about it, instead of rushing to please. These seem like tiny acts, but inside, they are revolutions. At first, it feels unnatural. You may even panic, because you were raised to equate worth with usefulness, love with sacrifice. But as you hold your ground, you begin to feel something strange. Space. Space to breathe, to wonder, to choose. Jung called this the beginning of individuation, stepping out of the collective script and into your own skin. And here's the truth. It doesn't take grand gestures to change your life. It takes 1,000 tiny refusals to betray yourself. And then comes the testing. The world will push back when you stop playing the role. The friend who only calls when they need something will notice your silence. The family member who expects you to fix everything will bristle when you say, not today. And you'll feel the old pull, that ache to smooth things over, to explain, to rush back into the familiar dance. But here's where Carl Jung's wisdom sharpens. What you resist persists. If you keep feeding the old dynamics, they will never die. But when you hold your boundary, when you let the discomfort burn through, something extraordinary happens. The projection shatters. They stop seeing you as their fixer, their rescuer, their mirror, and they are left to face themselves. It's painful, yes, but it's clean pain, the kind that clears. You are not responsible for their emptiness. You are not their balm, their distraction, their savior. You are you. And the more you remember this, the freer you become. As you hold your ground, the noise around you rises. They may call you heartless. They may paint you as the villain in their stories. But remember what Carl Jung taught. We meet our own shadow when the world no longer plays along. Their discomfort is not your failure. It's their mirror. Inside, something quieter begins to grow. You no longer check your phone every minute. You walk without rehearsing conversations in your head. You feel the weight lift from your shoulders, and in its place, a strange new sensation. Peace. Not the peace that comes from making everyone happy. That was exhaustion in disguise. This is the peace of alignment, of being able to sit with yourself without flinching. It's not always easy. There will be days you ache for the old chaos, days you wonder if you're too much, too cold, too distant. But then you'll remember, you're not abandoning them. You're returning to yourself. And that is the most radical act of love you will ever perform. And then comes the loneliness, but not the kind you feared. When you stop living for them, you meet a different kind of quiet. It's not the silence of abandonment. It's the silence of space. Space between you and their demands. Space between you and your old patterns. And in that space, something sacred stirs. Carl Jung called it sacred isolation, the necessary withdrawal that lets you hear your own voice. You may walk through days when no one calls, when the invitations dry up, when you stare at an empty phone and wonder if you matter. But listen closely. Beneath that ache is the sound of your own life, pulsing back to you. You're learning to stand without crutches, to feel without validation, to walk without applause. And slowly, the loneliness becomes solitude, the kind that heals. There's grief here, yes, but it's clean, honest, life-giving. You're not mourning their loss. You're mourning the version of you who depended on their approval, and with every tear, every ache, you are being remade. With solitude comes clarity. When you stop living for them, your mind stops racing. You no longer rehearse every word, anticipate every reaction, or shrink every thought to fit their comfort. You begin to hear the raw, unpolished voice inside you, the one that says, "I'm tired," or "I want more," or simply, "I'm here." Carl Jung taught that the path of individuation requires breaking from the collective, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. You cannot become yourself if you are forever shaped by the needs of the crowd. So you sit with your truth. You name your longings. You ask yourself questions you once avoided. What makes me feel alive? What have I sacrificed to belong? And slowly, you stop chasing. You stop proving. You realize that some people will walk away, and that's okay, because what you are gaining is far greater. a life that belongs to you, a soul no longer on loan. And then the shift deepens. You stop being the fixer, the peacekeeper, the one who smooths every edge. You stop apologizing for your needs, your limits, your truths. And as you do, something remarkable happens. The people around you reveal themselves. Carl Jung spoke of projection, the way we throw our own shadows onto others. When you break the cycle, when you stop absorbing their burdens, you force them to face their own reflection. Some will attack, some will retreat, a few will rise. But none of this is yours to manage. You are no longer the container for their unspoken pain. You are no longer the mirror they depend on. You are only, gloriously, messily, yourself. And in this new ground, you begin to attract what is real. Not relationships of convenience, but bonds of truth. Not obligations, but mutuality. Not roles, but presence. Silence becomes your ally. When you stop living for them, you discover the power of stillness. You no longer need to explain your choices, justify your absence, or decorate your truth. You let silence do the work words never could. Carl Jung said that true transformation happens not in the noise of the world, but in the quiet of the soul. And here, in this quiet, you rebuild. You mend the fracture between your inner world and outer life. You become a person who belongs first to themselves. And though some may call you cold, distant, hard, you will know this is not coldness, it is clarity. Not distance, but discernment. Not hardness, but strength. The life you are shaping now is no longer a performance. It is a presence. And in this presence, you will find a peace that no one gave you, because it was yours all along. But silence comes with a price. When you stop living for them, you lose some people. Not because you failed them, but because you stopped feeding the role they loved. The helper, the rescuer, the ever-available one. Some will drift away, confused or angry. Others will test you, push you, accuse you of changing. And here, Carl Jung's words echo. We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You are stepping into your own shadow, the fear of being misunderstood, rejected, even unloved. And you are standing there, not running, not bending, not shrinking. It's not easy. Some nights will ache with the weight of absence. You'll wonder if you made the right choice. You'll miss the easy comfort of approval. But beneath the ache is something fierce and quiet. Self-respect. For the first time, you are choosing yourself without permission. And that is no small thing. That is the start of everything. As you walk this path, you'll notice something remarkable. You're no longer pulled by every tide. You stop rushing to fix what's not yours. You let people hold their own pain, their own choices, their own lives. And as you do, something opens in you. A vast, quiet landscape you never knew existed. Carl Jung called this inner sovereignty, the sense of wholeness that comes when you stop outsourcing your worth. You are no longer a character in someone else's play. You are the author of your own script. It's here you begin to taste peace, not the fragile piece of compliance, but the fierce piece of authenticity. You start speaking more slowly, listening more deeply, walking more lightly. You learn that some battles are not yours, that some silences are sacred, that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to let go. And as you do, you don't just take back your life, you transform it. Here's the secret no one tells you. When you stop living for them, you become rare. Not because you play hard to get, but because you are no longer easy to lose. You are rooted, anchored, whole. And people feel it. Carl Jung wrote of the magnetic power of authenticity, the quiet strength that draws some people close while unsettling others. You will attract those who see you, not just need you, and you will repel those who fed on your old patterns. You will laugh more softly, but more honestly. You will love more fully, but with clearer eyes. You will no longer offer pieces of yourself as bargaining chips. You will offer presence or nothing. And when you look in the mirror, you will see someone you recognize, not the version they built, but the person you were always meant to be. If you've come this far, you are ready. Whisper it to yourself. I am enough as I am. And finally, you come home. When you stop living for them, you return to the place you left long ago, yourself. You walk through the ruins of old roles, old stories, old wounds. You gather the pieces of who you were, and you build something new. Carl Jung would tell you this is individuation, the art of becoming whole. It is not perfection. It is not arrival. It is the endless dance of returning to yourself again and again with tenderness. You will still stumble. You will still ache. You will still long for connection. But now, you will meet those moments with open eyes and a steady heart. This is the gift you've given yourself, a life no longer lived on borrowed time, borrowed love, borrowed worth. A life that is yours. And when they look at you and wonder where you went, you will smile softly, because you know you didn't leave them. You just came back to you. But be gentle with yourself. When you stop living for them, you don't instantly become invincible. You will falter. You will doubt. Some days, you will want to crawl back into the old skin, call the old numbers, play the old role, just to feel safe. And that's okay. Carl Jung reminded us that transformation is not a straight line. It's a spiral. We circle back. We fall. We rise. We fall again. But each time, we rise a little wiser. So when you find yourself longing for the comfort of the past, don't punish yourself. Sit with the ache. Hold it like you would a trembling child. Remind yourself, growth is messy. Healing is not a performance. You are not here to impress anyone, not even yourself. You are here to become, and becoming takes time. Be patient. Be kind. You are already further than you think, and something beautiful begins to happen. The people who remain in your life, they see you. Not the helper, not the fixer, not the mask, but you. And new people appear too, drawn not to your usefulness, but to your presence. Carl Jung believed that as we integrate our shadow, we become magnetic. Wholeness has a gravity of its own. You'll notice your conversations deepen. Your laughter becomes real, your love. Oh, your love becomes a gift, not a transaction. The old life may call to you sometimes. It may whisper from the corners, tempting you back into smallness. But you will stand taller now. You will know, I am not here to disappear into others. I am here to fully, fiercely, unapologetically be. And in that knowing, you will touch a freedom most people only dream of. But above all, you come to understand this: you never truly lost them. You only lost the illusion of connection. And in its place, you built something true, a relationship with yourself that no one can take. Carl Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that is the journey you are on. Not to be perfect, not to be adored, but to be real. To walk through the world with an open heart and strong boundaries. To give love freely, but never at the cost of your soul. Some will rise to meet you here. Some will fall away. Bless them both. Each played a part in bringing you home. And you? You are the home you were always seeking. So here you stand, at the edge of everything. When you stop living for them, you reclaim the most sacred thing you own: your life. Not the life they scripted for you, not the life you molded to fit in, but the life that was always waiting, quiet and patient, beneath the noise. Carl Jung would tell you, individuation is not the end of the road. It's the beginning of a real one. It's the path where you walk lighter, love deeper, stand stronger, not for applause, but because it's who you are. So take this moment, breathe in, breathe out, whisper to yourself, I am home. And when the world comes knocking, when the old roles call your name, you will smile and you will stay home. If this story touched something inside you, whisper it to yourself or share it below. I choose to come home to myself. Let's see how many of us are ready to walk this path, not for applause, not for approval, but for peace. Subscribe to this journey. You are not alone.